Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this week's episode, I'd like to tell you about an awesome Airbnb Narari that I spent a night at. You know, my words are very unlikely going to do this place justice, so I recommend that you check out the link in my description to this episode and do yourself a favor for Christmas. Spend time with that Airbnb and then come and thank me later. With that out of the way, we're going to go straight to the feelers that got me coffees. Starting with you, Sarah. You're back again. Jeez, man, I owe you something back. 3 generous coffees. Your commentary is just paying my tithe hunger while sipping some tea and listening to Nafuna at work. I'm absolutely hooked. And then next up, I got Hakani Chibua. Thank you so much for 3 generous coffees, and your commentary reads Famba Zako Tinto Usacheoke. Hey, that's really encouraging. Thank you so much. Next up, I got Nyari Miss Purple, who got me a coffee. Thank you for your generosity, and your commentary reads Tinto, you're like my new best friend who's always coming around with everyone's gossip. I can't even play music anymore. That one's what Tinto, and I'm happy and I'm getting wise, Hashem. And then you must have a friend called Tendai, because you say, thanks Tendai for introducing me to Tinto. Thanks Tendai, whoever you are. And then next up, we've got Nelly, 3 generous coffees, and your comment there reads, big ups to you, Tinto. Thanks for all the work you do. Here's something small to fuel the machine. Oh man, that fuel, trust me, does a lot. Next up, I got Tadiwa Mebe. Hope I said your last name right. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I've learned so much from this. It has helped me grow, and may God bless you for what you do. I'm so addicted now. Every time I have my pods on, I'm always listening to y'all. Hey, thank you. And then last but not least, Sarah, once again. 3 generous coffees. Your comment there reads, can't get enough of all the tea, and I definitely can't wait to spill mine too. For now, Imbobata ne panapa. Oh man, feel as you are absolutely amazing. If you want to support the podcast in a similar way, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, there is nothing too small to support the podcast that you have grown to love. With that out of the way, let's get straight into this week's episode. And geez, get your seatbelts on for this one. Is that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here on the Feeling Station.
Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Hey, I am excited to be here.
This has been a long time coming. If people knew the background, the history, they'll be like, how has this not happened sooner than now?
I know. I should have been here many, many moons ago, but I'm here now.
And I guess you just needed your time to make this hit home and for you to be yourself, right?
Yeah, I needed time to just process everything and just be ready to let it out now.
For those who are listening to the podcast for the first time, it's a romantic family and friendship breakup podcast showcasing stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give lessons from their experiences. And now, I hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful. And the podcast is very popular for 2 main reasons. One being, I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, which brings me to the fun part. Are you ready for this one, my friend?
I am ready. I'm ready.
Right. So I'm going to give you a name that you're going to use for the duration of the story. And your name comes from Burkina Faso.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And your name is Darifa, which is Darifa. Yeah. Probably best you write that down. Darifa.
Darifa.
Yeah, and what Darifa means is one who brings happiness.
Oh, okay. I can go with that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I can relate. You know, given the kind of person you are, the bubbly spirit and soul you are, you definitely are one of those people who brings happiness.
Darifa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what are you calling the name of the person you're talking about today?
Hyde.
Hyde.
Yeah.
Just like hide and seek.
No. Have you heard of the story of Jekyll and Hyde?
No.
Well, it's about a professor. He's a scientist, basically, and his good side is Jekyll, and he decides to create a potion to separate himself from his good side and his bad side.
Oh.
And his bad side is Hyde.
Oh, so this person is Hyde.
So this person is Hyde.
Yeah, I like that.
This person did not have a combination of both, basically. They just were, to me, the Hyde side of things.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the story is about Darifa and Hyde. And the second reason why people really, really love this podcast is their real life lessons that they walk away from what you're about to share with. So what would you like someone listening to your story today to walk away with?
Okay, I've got a few lessons. One of the lessons is don't be a clown for love.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some of us have been, everyone's been a clown.
Everyone's been a clown.
This will touch base with nearly anyone who listens to this episode. So don't be a clown for love.
Yeah, and
You
when
gotta.
someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can be in a relationship and still feel alone.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know not to look for fulfillment from somebody else, but from yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I think about that, it's got to do with self-worth, doesn't it?
Yeah, most definitely.
And self-worth, I think, only comes when you've been through some form of difficult time that allows you to process and say that I am actually better than this.
Yeah, that
Okay.
you're enough, basically. You're enough.
Nice. You got some more?
One more.
That's 5.
Families. Is it 5? Okay, yeah, 5.
Yeah, I did the number, ne? Okay.
Families can influence a relationship. So be careful what kind of family you're marrying into.
Oh, there's a Shona saying about that. Roranaiwe matongo. That's what they say.
Okay.
Yeah, and they basically say, just be with the people whose background you can verify and check. People who have the same kind, same thoughts, same ethos about life in general.
Yeah, I can definitely agree to that.
Cool. So play those back. Number 1, don't be a clown for love. Number 2, when someone shows you who they are for the first time, believe them. Number 3, you can be in a relationship and still feel alone. Number 4, know not to look for fulfillment from someone else. Rather get it from yourself. And then number 5, families can influence a relationship, so be careful what family you are marrying into.
Yeah.
Cool, Darifa, let's get into this then. So tell me where you met Hyde and why you decided, hey, I'm going to give this guy a chance.
So the first time I spoke to Hyde was in 2008. So this was around June, July on Facebook. Now, I don't know if you remember Facebook 2008. It was still, for me anyway, it was something new, still kind of familiar.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like what it is now. So during that time, the people that would add me as a friend on Facebook were people I knew from school, or back in the days, or people that I knew from uni, because I was 19 at the time in my first year of uni. So when he sent me a friend request, I didn't recognize his name.
Oh, okay, so right.
Yeah, I didn't know who this person was. So I was like, oh, it wasn't common for somebody who I didn't know to send me a friend request. But because I was at uni and it was my first year, I assumed it was somebody I probably had met at uni and just could not remember. So I accepted. And as soon as I accepted, I'll say a day or so, he sent me a message and he said, so we're friends on Facebook, but you can't say hi. I responded and said, well, hi. And then he said, well, thanks for accepting my invite. So I decided to go into Hyde's profile and say, well, let me see who this person is. And when I saw the pictures, I was like, yeah, I don't recognize this guy. So I didn't carry on the conversation. I just left it as that. And fast forward a year later, 2009, I'm now 20. I'm in my second year of uni. And this is around October. I was on Messenger on Facebook and he sees me online and he comes on, he pops on and he goes, I can see you online. Well, hello. So I don't know what was different this time round to the first time round, but for some reason I entertained the conversation this time round. And I said, oh, hey, you're right. And we just started chatting basically. And he was asking me about myself. I asked him why he sent me an invite. And he said he knew a girl called Darifa. And he thought I was that Darifa, but he found that it was a mistake. So he just thought, well, doesn't matter. We might as well just be friends anyway. That was his reason.
Did you buy that story?
I bought the story.
Yeah?
Because my name is quite common.
Okay.
So I thought, you know what? Yeah, it can happen, There's a few Darifas going on out there. So I guess I can see it happening.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
Okay.
So, and I like, to be honest, I went back on his pictures and I'm going to lie, I like the look of him this time round.
Well, okay, so what didn't you like about him the first time round? Because I'm sure the pictures were exactly the same.
They were the same, but I think maybe at that time in my life, I was in my first year of uni. I was just in a different place. I wasn't looking for a relationship at the time. I was looking just to have fun at uni, meet new people.
Okay.
And when he came off, I don't know, when he first started to speak to me, I had that like, oh, who's this kind of mindset? I wasn't like looking at him like, oh, he's good looking. I could give him a chance. I was just like, nah, don't know this guy, goodbye. Whereas in my second year, I wasn't dating anybody. I was more settled at uni, knew everybody I knew. So when he started speaking to me and the conversation was flowing, he just seemed more attractive this time round, to me anyway. So I entertained the conversation and things progressed pretty quickly from that point. He asked for my number. I gave him my number and he phoned me straight away and we hit it off. So I was at uni in a different town. He lived at home in a different town.
Okay.
He immediately asked me if he could come down to my uni and see me. So I said that was fine. But see me meant he was coming around for a weekend.
Oh.
Yes. So, yeah, things move fast. So basically 2 weeks from the point that we started speaking properly, he was down in my uni because I lived in a shared home with different students.
Yeah.
I had my own room. So my housemates all knew. I did tell them. And yeah, he came down on a Saturday and we went to dinner and then he met my housemates after. And yeah, he was very charming. I can't lie to you. I was like smitten from the beginning. And my housemates liked him. They were all like, oh yeah, he's great. So he spent the night on the first day with me.
Yes.
And yeah, we were intimate first night.
Yeah.
We were intimate the first night. And I mean, I was all for it. I can't even lie to you. I was like, okay.
You're feeling the guy. Yeah.
I was feeling him. So from that point on, he was down every 2 weeks. He would come down and stay with me every 2 weeks. And I just have to make it known, I had never been in a serious relationship. Before.
Yeah.
I mean, I dated in primary, secondary school, but I can't even count that as serious. So, once I became like 18, 19, I'd never been with somebody serious. So when I met this guy, it felt like he was love bombing me when I look back now, because he was very intense. So he would call me all the time. He started buying me gifts. He was in my face a lot. And I was a bit like, whoa, I've never experienced this kind of attention. So I immediately became, kind of really hooked on him, if that makes sense.
How much older was he than you?
He was 5 years older than me.
Okay. And you were in uni, you were studying, and he was at home?
He was working. Living with his mom.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
But living in a different town and working. And then he'd come and see me at uni. He had already graduated by this point. So yeah, I had exposed him more to my world. So all my friends knew him. I didn't really think of the fact that I didn't know anybody from his side.
I was just about to ask to say, okay, with all of these trips that are happening every 2 weeks, who did you know from his end now?
I didn't know anybody.
As in
I didn't know anybody.
Not one of his friends, guy friend, girlfriend.
Nothing. Knew no one. But he played it out like, because he's from, a different town, I haven't yet come to that side, and he lives with his mom, so I can't come down to his house because his mother is there. So, over time, maybe that would develop. But for now, it was fine, because to me, it was like, I've never been with anybody that's been okay to meet my friends and be so forward and be like, I'm her boyfriend. I mean, he didn't ask me out. It just kind of like became official, if that makes sense.
Nah, it doesn't make sense to me. And I don't like stories that are like this. Because anyway, I won't dwell on it. The reason why I don't like them is that they've never worked out for me.
All right.
Whenever I've been in a situation that was undefined, it was always messy. And the messiest one that I had really made me see the light.
Okay.
And from that experience, I was always crystal clear where I was, with something or with someone. If I wanted it to be a thing, be my girl. If she said no, tough. If she said yes, cool. Because then I'm accountable to her.
Yeah.
And she's accountable to me. And we also have an anniversary date. Because if I was to ask you if you guys ever celebrated an anniversary of your relationship, what would you say? Did you or you didn't?
We didn't.
Because you didn't know. Right?
No.
And how nice is it to have an anniversary thing coming? Like, oh, thanks, babe. You remembered. Or you get them something, they'll also appreciate it.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was just the whole, like, he's coming down, he's making the effort.
Yeah.
So it means we're a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So fast forward, let's say 2 months now, the first red flag came on. So it was my 21st birthday. I went out with my friends. Those days we didn't have WhatsApp messages or anything like that. It was just text messages.
Yeah.
So I went out with my friends and my phone died that whole weekend. A few of my friends came down, high school friends came down to stay with me. So I was very busy. And he knew I was. I told him my friends are coming down. We're going out.
Yeah.
So he couldn't reach me. By the Sunday, he had sent a message to one of my housemates. He had her number from when he had been visiting. And he was basically calling me all kinds of names under the sun to say that I was not being faithful. Why wasn't I reachable? I was up to no good. Like, this was like a switch. It was like from nowhere. So I'm like, oh. So, my housemate is coming to me on a Sunday like, oh, Heidi sent me these messages. Have you spoken to him? And I'm like, oh, my battery's been dead, to be honest. I haven't even been checking my phone. Switch on my phone, and I'm like calling him. He's not answering. So my housemate sends me messages, and then sends him a message, and she's like, I don't appreciate the language you're using, speaking about my friend in this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit rude. And then he sends her a message back, and he's like all apologetic. And he's like, I only spoke like that because I'm so in love with her. I kind of panicked and said things I shouldn't have said. Yeah.
You're so in love with someone, so you need to express your shitty side. So that what? I mean, if you're so in love with someone, wouldn't you be more sure that you're gentle and kind with your words, even though you need to be firm? Because you love them that much, you don't want to rub them up the right way. Why go the other extreme?
Yeah, but when my housemate said this to me, she said, oh yeah, he said he's just so in love with you. He had never told me he loved me before this. So when he said he's so in love with you, all I saw was love.
Love.
And I said, he's so in love with me?
Oh. So off the back of this, cool. Yeah, okay. Mm.
Okay, so it's just intense because he loves me. So, finally reach him, and then he's apologizing, and he didn't mean it. It's because he loves me. So I'm like, okay, I love you too. So that's where our official love yous came in.
And this is 2 months in?
2 months in.
Okay, yeah.
2 months in. So now we're in love. And we're going. So he'd come down again, usual stuff. And I started noticing other things. So, for example, we are in my room relaxing. He sneezes one day and I don't say bless you. Because I probably wasn't paying attention. But I only remember this because he switched again and he said, oh, so you've got no manners. And I say, sorry, what do you mean? He says, you can't say bless you? I say, oh, I'm sorry, bless you. And he says, wow, I've never been with anybody who doesn't know themselves and can't come to me and say bless you. That's just a general thing you can say to somebody if they sneeze. So I thought, oh, okay, sorry. I apologized. And I would notice that he would have these temper tantrums. He would just switch. We're having a great time. I say the wrong thing. He's upset. And then when he's upset, he's packing his bags. I'm going back home, packing. He's out. I'm begging. Why? Why has it gone from 0 to 100? He leaves, he comes back. Oh, I'm sorry. And then that pretty much was our relationship for the first 6 months after we said, I love you, basically, That was our relationship. And I kind of got used to that drama. I'm not going to lie.
The random switches.
Yeah, I kind of got used to that. So, now 6 months down the line, he leaves my house and he had been using my laptop before he left. He had logged into his emails. He forgot to log out. So I come back he used to take a coach to come and see me. I come back from the coach station. I see his emails are logged in. So I take a look through the emails because they're there.
As you would do, yeah, of course, yeah.
As you would do. And then I saw an email to a girl, we'll call her Olivia. And it was an email where he was speaking to her and he was talking about how much he loved her and how he was apologizing to her that he couldn't be around as often because he had to work during the weekends and stuff. So he was apologizing in this email. And then he had a brother, by the way. So he spoke about his brother and he said, my brother even knows how much I love you, so I apologize for how I've been acting. And I immediately saw red. I saw this email and the date was quite recent. So I thought, what the hell is this? So I phoned him and he's on the coach going back. So I'm like, who is Olivia? Straight away, I call Hyde, who's Olivia? He's like, and R-ing, and I'm just like, I've seen your email, you left it on. I'm flipping out. And he's like apologizing. He's like, I need to explain. I'll come back and explain. I'm being very dramatic, to be honest. Like, I can't believe you do this to me. We're over and all this stuff. He gets back to his town. He immediately gets he gets a train and comes back to where I am.
So you said you were being dramatic. Were you being dramatic deliberately, or because you were genuinely like, hey man, what's this?
I was upset, but I don't think I needed to act the way I was acting.
So why did you act the way you were acting?
I don't know. I think I was was trying to crave attention. I don't know, because I told all my housemates. I went out and said, you won't believe this. I was showing them the email, and they're just like, oh my gosh, it was just very intense. I think I could have handled it a lot different. So he comes back and he's begging me, and he's begging my housemates to beg me. It was just a lot. And my housemates don't want to get involved. And I'm just like, well, if you love me, you're going to phone Olivia now and you're going to tell her about me.
Hey, man.
So he's like, okay. I say, you phone her in front of me and you tell her. So he picks up the phone and he phones her and puts on loudspeaker, and he tells her, Olivia, I have met somebody else and I want to be with this person. And she's like, what? So you can imagine from her end, like, I didn't even think about her, but you can imagine from her end, your boyfriend calling you saying, I've met somebody else. We're done. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So she was in shock on the phone. She was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, we're through. So that's that. And then I say to him, so then he says to me, my mother knows about her, and my whole family knows about her. So this is going to be quite a difficult thing to juggle, basically, what I've done. Then I'm like, well, if you love me, you call your mother and tell your mother about me. Prove your love. Prove your love. So he does it.
What?
He did it.
Because
He picked up the phone.
yeah.
He phoned his mother.
And said what?
Mom, there's a Darifa here who I'm in love with, and I can't be with Olivia anymore. So his mom is like, what? She's like, what the hell are you saying? And same reaction to what Olivia was like. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm through. Like, I'm with her right now, and I want to be with her. And then I'm like satisfied. Like, yes. So this shows that he's picked me over Olivia, and he loves me enough. So I'm gonna let that go. What's happened with Olivia, because he's picked me.
Yeah.
So it means he loves me. So he's like, okay. And I'm like, so you better not go home today. You need to stay here with me, because I don't want you to go home and then because at this point, his phone is blowing up. His brother's calling him. His mother's calling him back. He had a stepfather. His stepfather was calling him. He's not picking up. So then I'm like, you don't go back home tonight, because if you go back home, they're going to influence you to leave me. And go back to Olivia.
So stick around, be with me.
Stick around. Stay here. Let it simmer. Then you go back. So he's like, yeah, okay, cool. So he stays with me another day, and then he goes back. And he's there, he takes the train and he's assuring me, I'm staying with you. I've picked you. You're the one for me. Goes back. I don't know what happens back there, but, he phones me back and he's like, yeah, I'm done with Olivia. But my mom did have a go at me and say it wasn't right that I just phoned her off the bat, because she was at work. She's a nurse. It probably wasn't great for her to get to work and hear this kind of news and how it affected her. So I don't think I did things right and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, whatever, you've picked me. It is what it is. We're done,
So how is he planning to remedy that? Because he sounds like he's saying this because he needs to fix how he went about things. Was he trying to fix how he went?
I don't know, and I didn't care.
Wow.
I didn't care. I was just like,
you've picked me.
You've told her you've picked me, and it's me. So let's just stay the course. So then I was satisfied at this point. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to introduce him to my family. So I told my auntie and my uncle about him. They were like, okay. They were kind of open to it. Cool. I'm an only child, so I've got no siblings. So I introduced him to my aunt and my uncle. Once again, he's charming. He puts on the charm. They're like, wow, okay, this guy is really nice. he buys them theater tickets to say, I bought you surprise tickets to go to the theater. They're like, whoa, okay. This is amazing.
But what was the gap between you asking him to call his mom and Olivia and you introducing him to your family? What was the difference?
This happened this was like the summer. So I'll probably say about February. Sorry, this happened in February. So it's probably about August time, 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months, okay.
After the Olivia thing had happened, I say, I'm going to introduce it to my family, and he's cool with it. So my uncle and my auntie are very impressed. I'm not going to lie. He was very charming, and he was a gift giver. So he bought them theater tickets, and they were like, oh, this guy's great, whatever. And then he's like, I've got a young cousin. So he's like, I'm going to take you and your cousin, she was 10 at the time, to the theater to see Lion King. And we're going to go out and I can get to know her. So I'm like, great, let's do that. The day we go out for this, he was in a mood. He was just mad at me for some unknown reason. So my cousin is there. She's uncomfortable. He's having a go at me and shouting at me, saying, you're ridiculous. You're pathetic. I'm going to end this relationship. This is from nowhere, by the way.
Out of the complete blue.
Out of the blue. He got mad at me. I can't remember what it was about, but it was something very small.
Yeah.
And he blew it up, and he was very upset with me the whole time we were out at the theater with my cousin. So he's yelling at me, telling me that it's over. We're done. And this is when my little cousin is sitting there, and she looks very uncomfortable. And then we go into the theater. Then he holds my hand and he rubs my hand and he goes, it's okay. Wait, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, we're good. But this is just to show you just how he would switch.
Yeah.
From back and forth. So we go home. My cousin, yeah.
But how did that interaction leave you feeling, though?
It was draining.
On that particular day?
It was draining. It was draining on that day because when we went out, I actually, I just remembered I bumped into a family friend at the theater, outside the theater. And she came up to me and I hugged her so tight because I just felt so emotionally exhausted. And I'd seen somebody I know, someone that's familiar to me, that was like very cheery, like, hey. So immediately I was like, oh, hi. And I just had this sense of like, almost like take me away from this situation, because I just felt like I'm in such a toxic vibe right now. I just need to get away from it, if that makes sense. But I didn't. I stayed there because I could have left. I could have said to my cousin, let's go back home. We're not putting up with this. But I stayed. I stayed there.
Do you know why you stayed? One, at the theater, and two, in the relationship itself, because there's a trend here. There's a notable invisible trend.
Do you know what? I don't know. Thinking back now, I think I stayed because I used to have an issue with the fact that when I was a lot younger, my dad passed away when I was 10.
Yeah.
So I'm 10. I was shipped off to boarding school pretty much. He died a month into me being at boarding school.
Yeah.
And I'm an only child. My mom was present, but she had me really young. So she used to, basically my parents divorced and my dad had custody of me. So when my dad died, my dad's side of the family took over. So my mom would struggle to have any relationship with me, basically. She was kind of in and out at the time. And I just didn't feel like I fit in with my family, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like I belonged to anybody because my dad was gone. I didn't have any siblings. So I just kind of felt like I was a piece of everybody's puzzle, but I didn't quite fit in. So when I met Hyde, it almost felt like
it felt like he picked you and you fit in.
Yeah, like this is my person. I'm not somebody's niece or this and that. This is my guy. We're together. So and because of all the love and attention he had shown me, I was like, I don't know, I got used to that, and I was like, I can't do without it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
So anyway.
That makes a lot of sense. Because everybody craves a sense of belonging, right?
Yeah.
And this guy kind of gave that, because visiting someone every 2 weeks is a lot of time that you're investing into something, and it's bound to make you feel like this person is very close to me. And where maybe you felt there was a little void of that, especially from a male perspective, it would make sense why you may have wanted to stick around. Okay.
So, my cousin went home and she told my auntie about the situation, how it was for her. She's 10 at this point, by the way. And she was just like, I don't like him.
Oh, your cousin was 10?
She was 10. She says, I don't like him.
Okay.
So my auntie showed some concern, but I brushed it aside and just said, we just had an argument. It's nothing serious. I didn't really tell them the situation at the point.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we're together. A few months into the relationship, he's over at my uni place, and he says that he wants us to take some intimate pictures together.
I like how you're very diplomatic and politically correct about this. He wanted you to take some nudes together.
You know, to take some nudes. I'm mentioning this because it's relevant to the story that will progress. So I agree, and I'm like, okay. I'd never done this, and we were like, all right, fine, I'll take some pictures with you. So we took a couple of pictures, and he said he asked if he could keep them. I said, yeah, that's fine.
Whose phone did they use?
It wasn't a phone. It was I don't know if you remember those cameras that used to have the screen, and then you take it, and then you can actually see the picture after you've taken it on the screen of the camera.
So he was using a proper camera.
He's using a camera. And he was positioning me, and he would take the pictures and say, do this, hold this, take the picture.
And would he be in them pictures, or he's taking pictures of you?
He's bedside in the pictures. Or with me in them, if that makes sense. So
how much of either one of your faces was showing? His face, your face?
My face showed, his face didn't show. My face came up in a few. And but I didn't think much of it. I just thought, okay.
And you wouldn't have, because you've never done anything like this. You haven't been exposed to it, and you're not aware of the risks that could come with such information being exposed.
I mean, he's my man, so he's not going to expose me, right?
Shit.
That's my thinking. That's my thinking. So we take these pictures, and then once again, a few weeks down the line, he forgets to log out of his email on my laptop. No, I'm serious. This is like he did this again.
Damn.
So I snoop around through his laptop again. Nothing in inbox. And I go and send messages. So then I see this email that he sent to this woman, I presume, can't remember her name, but attached are my pictures. And he's like, here are the pictures that I was telling you about. I hope you like them. So I'm confused. I'm like, why would he be sending somebody intimate pictures of me and him, but like his face is not in them, but you can see me in them, and you can see me touching things and all this kind of stuff? Like, why is he like, I just didn't understand it. It just made no sense.
And this wasn't Olivia?
So no, this is a random person. So I phone him and obviously do the usual, what's going on, what's this, what's that? He apologizes, and he says it's just some woman he met on a website, and they were exchanging pictures, and she wanted some pictures of him, and he wanted pictures of her. So he sent her pictures, and she did the same. Nothing more to it, basically. He's not sleeping with her.
But you didn't see these pictures in the inbox because he's obviously either hidden them or something.
Yeah, all I saw is he sent messages with my pictures.
Yo.
So I'm a bit like, okay, this is, I don't know. I mean, saying it back now, it's mad, isn't it?
It's crazy. Like everybody's got a nude story, and I'm not immune to that experience.
I didn't leave.
Except that yours, I can understand in quotes, because back then, what did you say? 2008, 2009.
This now is 2010.
Okay, so this is 2 years on. Still, it's that same period of time. If I go back to 2010, those are the days of BlackBerry Messenger. So BlackBerry was big. Nokia had come out with a few phones that had cameras, etc., etc. But people weren't really trying to take nudes and send nudes unless my world wasn't exposed. Right? This shit caught up with me later on in life. When there were cameras that could take, better pictures, and I did some nudie shit, send it over to someone, and boy, did that bite me in the ass or what.
Yeah.
But it was an important life lesson because ever since that experience,
you've never done
a camera is just for flowers. Just for flowers and grass. Nothing beyond. Okay, so okay, so he's received, well, he sent and received some pictures, and now you're asking questions.
Yeah, I'm asking questions, and this will become quite a big thing later on, by the way. But I've seen these pictures, and he's trying to explain that he's not cheating. It's just him sending pictures to somebody, and he apologizes, won't do that again, whatever. And I forgive him. I let it go.
Now that
you're do that again.
Now that you're older, is that cheating?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's not just cheating. That's like betraying trust. Because I'm in those pictures, and you're sending pictures of me to somebody else that I don't know, and I don't know what they're gonna do with those pictures of me. So it's like he had no sense of like respect for me then, that he would do something like that. But at the time, I didn't even think, oh, this guy doesn't respect me, that he's gonna take my pictures and give them to a random person, or who is even this person? I didn't even investigate. I just left it as that and thought, okay, he's apologized, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now he's met my family. He decides like, so now it's 2010, we get into beginning of 2011. We're still together. Still the usual, back and forth temper tantrums here and there. But at this point, I'm used to it. This is our relationship. We argue, we kiss and make up. We argue, we kiss and make up. So he decides when it comes to February times, he wants to introduce me to his mother. So
wait a whole goddamn minute. This is 3 years into the relationship. Yeah. And all his mom knew of you was that phone call that you said, tell your mom.
Yeah. So I'd never spoken to her.
What?
Yeah, I'd never spoken to her. I'd never spoken to any of his friends. Not spoken to any family members. So we get into, and he's met my family. And then 2011, February, he's like, I want you to meet my mom.
Did you find that a bit odd? That 3 years in, you've not met anybody. Okay. Let's forget friends. Blah blah blah. What I mean, let's forget family. What about friends? Would you not say, "Oh yeah, my friend Tinto did this today. Oh, I was doing this with Takunda. I was doing this with Sanile." No.
Nope. I never spoke of any friends. The only people he spoke about was work colleagues. That's it. Never spoke of any friends. He didn't seem like he had much friends. When he came to my house, no one phoned him really. So yeah, I never questioned it. I just thought, okay, it's his family and him really.
He's just loner, chilled.
He's just a
homebody.
Yeah, he's just a homebody.
Shit.
So, I'm like, okay, he wants to introduce me to his mom. So he asked me to go to his family's house, but he wants me to go alone to meet his mother. He didn't go with me. He just told me, I've told her you're coming. She wants you, to turn up, and then you can meet her, the two of you, and get to know each other. First meeting.
Just the two of you, and he's not even going to be there.
Just the two of us. He's not going to be there. First meeting. So I'm like, oh, okay. Right, all right. So turn up. Mom's friendly. He's asking me about myself. He's not from... so he's not Zimbabwean, basically. I'm Zimbabwean. He's not from Zimbabwe. He's from a country in West Africa.
Yeah.
So that is also relevant because obviously when I got there, she did make comments of the fact that her son has never dated somebody from my side. So she wasn't familiar with people from my side. So I found it interesting that she was very specific. She kept mentioning that, like, okay, I don't know people from your side, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal for me, but cool. And then she says something that I was like, what's going on here? She said to me, well, seeing as you want to be with my son and get to know my son, you need to commit to our family and taking care of me. So it would be nice if you would maybe every month give me some money. So I'm a student, by the way. I don't work.
And does she know you're a student?
She knows I'm a student. She knows I'm a student. So she goes, it would be nice if you would like give me some money. I'm not even sending my mother back home money. But this woman wants me to give her money here in England. I thought, oh.
Where's her husband at this point?
So this is very interesting. Thanks for bringing this up. I have to note this. So his father was back home. They were separated.
Right.
She was married to his stepfather. But, so I need to explain this so you quite understand how this goes. So he lived at home, right, in a flat with his mother. But his mother was married to the man that lived upstairs.
What?
Yes. So his husband lived upstairs. So she would spend all her days in the flat that she lived with her son in. And at night, she'd go and sleep with her husband upstairs. So she would cook and clean downstairs, and then she would carry the food to her husband upstairs. And then he would come and hang out downstairs with her sometimes, but he was mainly upstairs.
The reason being?
I don't know. I think they just wanted to keep their lives separate in that sense. But
it doesn't sound like they're from the same country, the husband and the wife.
They were from the same country.
How?
They're from the same country, but he lives upstairs. She sleeps with him upstairs, but she hangs out downstairs.
Wow. Okay.
So he's on a different floor, right? Let's say he's on 3.
I get that completely.
So he's on flat in level 3. She's on flat in level 2. So so I went to level 2, which is her flat, which is where he lives. Hung out with her. Her husband wasn't there because doesn't hang out down there. He's always upstairs.
So I don't want to dwell on this too long, but it's just so radical. How many beds were in stepdad's apartment? 2 bed. And mom's apartment is 2. So mom and dad could be in one apartment, which is the one that he spends time in. Yeah. And they would share a bedroom, and he would still have a room to be in. And that could be the same for mom's thing.
Yeah.
And you didn't ask about this dynamic?
How can I ask? It's nothing to do with me.
Ask your boyfriend, though.
At the time, I didn't know that was dynamic because I'm visiting at this point, right? It became clear to me later on.
Okay,
it became an issue. Yeah. But at the time, I wasn't like, oh, you're down here and your husband's up there. Why? I was just like, okay,
but
you'd
already clocked that they are in 2 different...
Yeah, I clocked that, but it wasn't anything to do with me. It didn't impact me in any way, so I didn't push the conversation in any way.
Yeah.
So she asked me for this money, and I agreed. I paid the first installment.
Of how much?
£30 is what I could afford.
Yeah.
So I gave her £30. She was happy. And she was super nice to me from that point, And I thought, I'm in with the family, So
what did your boyfriend say when you told him that this is what mom said?
He didn't say much. He just went, okay, if that's what you want to do. If you want to Hyde was like, if you want to give mom money, that's your thing. He didn't even complain or say that's weird. He was just like, okay, well, that's nice. That's what you want to do. So from that point, we're in February, I'm in with the family. When I call, I speak to mom. Hi, mom. Da, da, da. I'm in.
It's giving dysfunction.
I know. I should have seen this.
At this point, I was giving dysfunction. But anyway, go on.
So March comes. I've met the mom February. March comes. Find that I'm pregnant.
Hey. So you met mom when? In February. In April, you discover you're pregnant.
End of March.
Yeah, end of March. Yeah, okay.
I found out I was pregnant very early days.
Okay, so it was like, what, 2 weeks old?
2 weeks or something at this point, very early. So I'd gone to his mother's house with him to visit him is when I told him, because there was a church program they'd invited me to. So I came to the church program and they asked me to stay over. So I said, okay. So I go, and then before we go to church, I tell him I'm pregnant.
What prompted you
And
to check whether you're pregnant or not?
my periods were pretty on point, you know. They were pretty much like accurate when they come. So when I missed it after 1 week, I thought that's strange.
Right.
Plus, we weren't using protection. You know, I had been on contraception, but I had a month before I had switched my birth control. So I think in between that time of switching is when I felt pregnant. So there was like reasons for me to be like, ooh, maybe, because during that time I switched, maybe I could have gotten pregnant. I did. I got pregnant. And his reaction was a bit shocked. He was like, oh, he was surprised. Okay, pregnant. Right. He kept saying he doesn't know how his mom is going to take it. And I'm thinking, okay, but, you know, I'm pregnant. Like, what are we going to do? He's like, well, obviously we're going to keep the baby. So we tell his mom after church, she's pregnant. His mom is like, okay, so what's the plan? So in my mind, I was like, well, I'm at uni in this other town. The plan would be he would leave his mom's house and then come and stay with me, like, and then, you know, he'll get a job in my town. I would get a job after uni and would live in this town. That's what made sense in my head.
Right.
But then his mother was like, no, you know, it's your first baby. How about initially you come and stay with us? When you've had the baby, you stay with us for a little bit. You guys get yourself settled. We help you with the baby. Then you guys can leave, right? And that made sense. I thought, okay, fine. It's my first child. My mom is not here. That makes sense. His mom is here. She can help me with the baby. Okay, that makes sense. I'll do it. So I don't tell my family, my aunt, my uncle, no one. Don't tell anyone I'm pregnant. Don't tell anybody that I've packed my bags, left uni, and gone to move in with this guy and his family. No one knows. So
Any reason why you didn't want to tell your family?
I knew they would judge. They would judge because
Judge that you're pregnant, or judge that you're going to go live with the guy?
the whole situation is like, I'm pregnant. I haven't even graduated. I'm graduating soon, but I haven't graduated. I'm pregnant. The guy doesn't even have a place of his own. He's living with his mom. So you're going to go live with your boyfriend and his mother. Do you know these people well enough to do all that? I didn't want the questions, those hard questions of, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? Have you thought this through? I just wanted to do. And then once I'm settled, be like, hey, this is what I've done. And I'm settled. I'm fine.
Even though you knew that the questions were going to come anyway, you were just delaying it. It's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of saying, I'm not going to tell people I'm pregnant, but the pregnancy will sell itself out at 5, 6, 7 months anyway.
Yeah.
So how are you? Were you just buying yourself time to?
I was just burying my head in the sand, really.
Hey.
Buying time. So I moved in. And then immediately after I moved in, I started to notice things about the household. So, for example, I noticed that his brother, so I did mention earlier, he had an older brother. His older brother didn't live there. He lived about 20 minutes away. But his older brother was always at the house. When I say always, I mean his older brother would go to work, finish work, come to the house, to their house, eat his dinner, go home. Monday to Friday, this is the same routine. Saturday, his older brother would wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, come to the house, spend the whole day in the house. So he would knock on the door and, would open the door. He would come and sit on the couch, would go back to sleep or whatever we're doing. And his brother's just there. Saturday, Sunday, this is the routine. His mother comes downstairs about 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She's got her key, obviously, because she's come from upstairs. Remember, she's sleeping upstairs. She comes from upstairs. She comes downstairs, sits on her chair.
Yeah.
And this is the routine. So in my mind, I was like, oh, there's not much privacy here. I kind of feel like these guys are like always around, But anyway, this is short term. So, I was a bit uncomfortable with that. I did tell Hyde and say, Hyde, this is a bit, your brother's a bit intense. Why is he always here? And he was like, well, he just likes to come to eat. He eats dinner here, he eats lunch here. He's a single man. So, it's not a big deal. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I would notice that his mother would speak to his older brother on the phone every lunchtime. Every lunchtime when the guy's on lunch, he'd phone his mom. They would speak for the whole hour lunch.
Yeah.
Then he would come home in the evening. So the relationship already between mother and son, the older son, is very intense. And I can see this. It's really intense going on here. But I was like, Hyde is not like that with his mom, you know? Hyde is like, he's relaxed. So maybe the older brother is just close to his mom, but my Hyde is cool. Because he didn't show me that initially. So that was the situation. Haven't told my family I'm pregnant. We get to August. I'm 5 months pregnant at this point.
Yeah, it's starting to be like, hello.
Yeah, there was a family function. My family still think I'm at I'm in my uni town, by the way. Yeah. I've graduated. Sorry, my graduation was coming up in February. So they just thought I was staying behind and working there. Didn't know. So August comes, there's a family baptism. I say to Hyde, we got to go tell the family this is what's happening. He's like, okay, cool. So we turn up. I'm wearing a big dress to try and cover the belly, which was very obvious, by the way. My auntie saw me. She didn't say anything. The whole function ends. Then my auntie comes up to me. She says, are you pregnant? You know, Darifa, are you pregnant? I say, yes. She's like, I'm very disappointed in how you haven't said anything. Like, you look like you're far gone here. Like, what's going on? You know, she calls in Hyde. You know, he's like, he's pregnant. Like, how can you come here to our family and not say anything up until this point? You know, Hyde apologizes. I'm sorry. We're just trying to find the right time to tell you. And like, what's the plan then? The plan is she's going to come and stay with me. We didn't even tell them I'd be staying there already. She's going to come and stay with me. We'll help her with the baby, da-da-da-da. So my auntie's like, okay, so are you planning on marrying her? Like, what's the plan? So he's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. He goes back to his mom. They chat, and then they're like, okay, we will pay a bridal price. We won't do the whole white wedding, but we can start off with bridal price. We'll do the bridal price before the baby comes, and then we'll do everything else after the baby comes. So there was no like, ask my hand in marriage. Darifa, do you want to get married? Me, yeah, I do. It was just like, this is what's happening. And I'm like, okay, cool, fine. We're going to do a traditional wedding. This guy is my husband and everything. So then I phone my mom, tell her what's happening. My mom is back home. My mom is like, well, I have to come. If you're pregnant, I have to come there. Like, you're having your first baby. How can I not be there to support you? So I speak to Hyde. Hyde speaks to his family. They're like, it's fine. She's coming. We do by the way, they knew this. We discussed this before she did her visa. She's coming. My mother applies for a visa. Visa goes through. Okay, I go to Hyde's mom. My mom is coming in December. Hyde's mom goes, where is she staying?
And when was the baby due?
December. I say, my mom's coming December for the birth. She's got a visa. She's staying 3 months. Hyde's mom goes, well, but where is she staying? I say, well, I presume here, because there's a spare room here, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the mom sleeps upstairs. There's another bedroom. Hyde's mom goes, well, I was actually planning on renting out that room. And then I was like, oh, well, I don't know what you want me to do, because my mom is coming. So she goes, well, if your mom's coming here, then your mom has to pay rent for the room that she's staying in.
Hey, man.
So I'm like, I can't go to my mother and say, Mama, when you come, bring money for rent.
And we're still paying this woman your £30 a month.
I know the £30 that stopped at this point because, you know, yeah. So she's like, you need to pay rent for your mother to stay in the room. I said, I can't do that. So I speak to Hyde. I said, Hyde, I can't do that. I can't go to my mother and tell her this. How do I even say that to my mother? You need to pay rent.
You can't.
You know what I mean? I said, plus you guys are doing the traditional wedding. So this is now her son-in-law's house.
Exactly.
How can she pay rent?
Rent, yeah. So
he goes, oh, okay, I'll speak to mom. So he speaks to his mom. Then I said, you know what? If that's the case, I'm going to have to then say to my mom, if my mom can't stay here, I can't stay here. because she's coming to help me with the baby.
Yeah.
So I'll speak to one of my aunties, and my mom and I will stay with one of my aunties. She helped me with the baby there. Then when mom goes back, I'll come back. His mother didn't take too well with that. So she was like, fine. Your mother can come and stay here. So I'm like, okay, fine. After the traditional wedding, we had the traditional wedding in October. Hyde just started to change. He was short-tempered, but he became a bit more physical in his actions towards me in terms of like when he's upset. So I'm like pregnant at this point, right? Quite heavily pregnant. What he would do is he would, if he gets mad at me, has an argument with me in the bedroom with his mom and brother in the living room, he would push me and I'd fall on the bed, and then if I try and leave, he'll push me and he'll be shouting in my face. It's like just general arguments. And his brother would have to come in and stand in between us and separate us and say, hey, she's pregnant. Can't do that, And he'd always say it was me that's causing him to act the way he's acting.
Okay.
Right. So these were things that started to happen when shortly after Lobola has happened. Now he's paid his Lobola. He starts acting this way. So his mom says to me, "Oh, it's just the nerves of the baby coming. It's a lot happening. Just leave him. He'll calm down.
Okay.
He'll stop acting crazy." I'm like, okay, fine. Mom arrives. Baby comes. My mom came literally a week before the baby came. When my mother arrived, she said, this situation is a bit funny here. Like, like, who lives here? Is this your husband's house? Is this his mother's house? What is going on here? Because I'm seeing mom here every day. You guys have no privacy. Your baby's coming. What's going on? And I just say, no. She's always upstairs anyway. It's not a big deal. And my mom is like, I don't like this situation, but I don't want to stress. I'm here to help with the baby. I'm not going to be difficult. So, and to be honest, they were when my mom came, they weren't rude to my mom or anything. They were quite polite. So baby comes, and this is where things...
Hey, but you were gambling peace, because two grown women in one home and a new baby.
I know.
And you're in the son's mother's place. A recipe for disaster right there, I think.
I didn't think about it, to be honest. I never sat down and thought, this is going to be a lot. I just thought, my mom's coming. She's going to help with the baby. That's that, She's here with me. Mom came, baby came. And I don't, if you got a child, when they're newborn, they don't sleep.
No, they don't.
In the night.
Yeah.
So baby was up a lot, but we had a visitor every day. And when I say visitor, I mean the mother's friends would come every day. So
the same friend or different friends?
Different friends. So from the moment I gave birth, during the day, I had to wake up in the morning, bath, look nice, and be ready for like her different friends that would turn up to want to hold the baby and just be sitting there. And me and my mom are just sitting there. We want to sleep. We haven't slept. So at this point, by the way, when the baby came, I started to sleep in the bedroom, the spare bedroom with my mother and the baby. Hyde was sleeping by himself in the other room. So my mom and I were dealing with the baby. And I'm sleeping in this room with the baby, my mom, and we're basically up all night. During the day, we're sitting with everybody that's coming to visit and all this kind of stuff. We're exhausted. But they're like, this is the culture. People come see the baby. This is what we do. Okay, fine. It's different. This is a different culture to me. So I'm like, okay, I need to respect it, right? After 8 days, they're like, we're doing a naming ceremony. This is what we do in our culture. We're going to have everybody come around to the house. It's like a little get together. The pastor's going to come and pray for the baby, and we're going to name the baby in front of everybody. Okay, this is new. Cool, we'll do it. The day of the naming ceremony comes. I'm in the living room with the baby. All these people are around. I'm talking. Hyde is calling me because I think he wanted me to come down and write the name of the baby, the Shona name of the baby, on a piece of paper because he couldn't spell it. I didn't hear him calling me. So he comes in and says, Darif, I'm calling you. So I say, okay. I go into the bedroom. What's up? He holds me and he squeezes me so hard. My hand so hard.
Where? On your arms?
On my hands.
My hands,
So he
yeah.
grabbed my hands and he squeezed them so tight. You come when I'm calling you.
Bruh.
And then I'm like, I didn't hear you call me. I honestly didn't hear you call me. I was like talking to people in the living room and all this stuff. And he's just like, you need to learn to listen. You don't listen. So I'm like, okay. I'm a bit shaken at this point, yeah? So he's like, write down the name of the baby. So I write down the name, go back into the living room. Pastor starts to, preach, whatever. And then pastor says something about, it's very important for the mom and dad to be joined together for the baby, the love as a family. So when the pastor says that, Hyde takes my hand and then he rubs my hand and rubs my shoulders.
God.
And he's looking at me smiling like, and then he whispered, sorry about earlier, sorry. My mom is looking at me like, what's going on? But I don't want my mom to know. So I'm like, fine, it's fine. Because my mom could see that I had changed. Like I did, my mood had kind of changed, but she didn't know what's going on. So I'm just like, it's fine. So I was like, I can't tell my mom this is what's happening. So I let it be. So naming ceremony happens. So like I remember I said to you, visitors were coming every day. 1 month in, this is still happening. I decided to go and get some rest with my mom in the bedroom one afternoon. His auntie comes round to visit. She comes into the bedroom where I'm sleeping. She takes the baby. She goes into the living room. When I wake up, I see that she's pierced my baby's ears.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like...
And how old was your baby?
2 months.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, 6 weeks, 2 months. She pierced my baby's ear. She never asked me if this is what I wanted. So I say, oh, you pierced the baby. Yes. This is his mother, by the way, answering now. Yes, because that's what we do in our culture. The girls have to have their ears pierced. So my mother gets up and she goes, but don't you think, it would have been safer to do it, at a professional place or something, because the child can get an infection if you just, how did you do it? You did it at home as a baby.
How did they do it anyway?
She got a needle and just like...
Just a needle,
she got a needle and she just did it like that. So my mother was very upset. My mother was mad. She came to her speaking our language and she's just like, I can't deal with this kind of behavior. Like, this is your child. There's no respect here. They don't ask you as the mother to say, we want to do this. They just come, they take the baby. They even come in the bedroom where we are sleeping, take the baby, then go and pierce the baby's ears in the living room. And then you wake up and, you know what I mean? This is like strange behavior. So she's like, you need to speak to your husband. So now I'm feeling this pressure of speak to your husband. Right? So I'm like, okay. I'm trying to speak to Hyde. Yeah, this is what's happened. Your auntie, I don't want to get involved in women's problems. I don't want to get involved. Okay. So what do I do? Nothing I can do. So the house is just tense at this point. It's tense. So my mom was just like, I don't know if I can leave you like this. This situation isn't good. I don't feel comfortable to just go back home and leave you. Maybe we should get some money, buy a ticket, and you can come with me. And then you can spend a few months back home with me, with the baby. My husband, Hyde, wasn't having it. He wasn't having it. He was like, no, she stays here. Because if she goes with the baby, I'm not going to see the baby. So she stays here. So I'm like to my mom, it's fine. We'll be good. We'll be fine. Once you leave, I'm going to speak to Hyde. We're going to get our own place. We're going to move out, because that was always the plan, right? I'm here just for the baby. We're going to get our own place. My mom is like, okay, fine. Not too long after my mom left to go back to Zim, my mother-in-law decided to sit me and Hyde down to discuss our love life, per se, in regards to, I don't know if you remember when I told you that when my mother was here, me and my daughter, my baby was sleeping in the same room as my mom because she was helping us out with the baby.
Yes.
Yeah, so obviously that meant that I wasn't sleeping in the same room as Hyde. So there was nothing sexual going on in that sense because we were not in the same room. My mother stayed obviously for 3 months, and then when she left, my mother-in-law sat us down and said to us that she by the West African culture from where they were from, we were not allowed to be sexually intimate for 6 months after the baby was born, basically. Yeah.
Reason being?
She said it's a way of just making sure that you don't get pregnant again very quickly, because a woman is very highly fertile after she's just had a baby. And it's something about it's good for the baby that you have now to not be doing those kind of things. And for the woman's body as well to heal. So you're told that in their culture, it's 6 months that you have to wait, which I later on found out she was lying about anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I only found this out because I asked other people from the same country, like, is this normal?
Yeah. And
they were like, no, we've never heard of that before.
That is ridiculous. So okay. Wow.
So, yeah. So Hyde agreed to it. So obviously, because he's agreed to it, it just means that, I mean, who am I now to now try and force the situation? If he's like, if my mother's saying that I have to respect the culture, so we're not going to do anything. So it meant from the time the baby was born to about from December to like June, July, we didn't do anything.
Jesus.
Yeah. So my mom eventually goes. So then after she goes, I say to Hyde, so we're leaving, right? What's the plan? He's like, what do you mean? So we're going to get our own place. And he goes, well, this is my own place. I said, well, it's not really your own place because your mom and your brother are here all the time.
Yep.
He says, no, it's my place. My mom lives upstairs in her apartment. This is my place. And I'm like, yeah, but this, like I said, nothing of that's here is yours, right? I'm a woman, your mom's a woman. We're both in the kitchen at the same time. The pots are not mine, they're your mom's. The chair is not, the sofa is not mine, it's your mom's. Like, her friends come when they want to come. Like, there's no privacy, basically. Do you know what I mean? So I need a place of my own. And he was like, no, this is what it is. Like, we're staying here. And then I'm like, well, maybe if I go and speak to his mom, because she suggested, like, us staying here for a little bit and we'll leave, she'll get it. So I go speak to his mom. His mom is like, why do you want to try and separate a family? Like, why would you come and marry into a family then want us to be separated?
Hey!
You know, why would you want to come and separate?
So your mom is now being looked at as somebody who's not trying to keep stuff together, but you're divisive.
But that was the plan, right? The plan was when the baby comes, after a few months, we move out. So she's like, no, I don't know why you want to do that. Well, I give you all the privacy you need. So then what she starts doing from this point on, where now like maybe the baby's like 6 months, she now like she'll come downstairs maybe about 4 o'clock in the afternoon instead of like at 12. So that was her giving me privacy by saying, I won't come during the day all day, but I'll come around 4. So that way you're having the place to yourself till like 4. So what's the problem? You have privacy. But it's not privacy. So then I was just like, okay. And one thing to note, it just kind of felt like his family lacked ambition, if that makes sense. So it kind of felt like, he was happy to be in the position he was in, living with his mom, his brothers coming around. He didn't want more for himself. So every time I would make comments like, you can get a better job, you can move out, have your own place, we can actually buy a place. It was more like, I'm happy in the environment I'm in. You're just trying to take me out of this environment. I'm content. Like, we're happy. And I'm just like, but you're not progressing. We're not progressing. We're just here. We're stuck. But he didn't see it that way. So because I brought up the we want to move out situation, things between me and his mom became frosty. Right? So what would happen is I would come downstairs. His mom wouldn't speak to me. She would be silent. I would come in the living room. She'd say nothing. She would make food, eat her food, then she'd go upstairs and not speak to me. My mother's left, sorry. My mother's now left. She's gone back home. So I'm now in this situation where I'm very isolated.
Yeah.
Hyde had now developed this thing where he finishes work at 5. He doesn't come home after work. He comes home around 8.
Okay.
He works like an hour away. Why are you coming home at 8? I'm asking questions. Oh, I just like to walk. I walk home from work now. I don't take the bus. I like to walk. So that's why I get home at 8 o'clock or
Okay.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I just felt very isolated. So I was just like, okay. And then I started getting like unwell. I wasn't feeling great. So I started having these symptoms where, yeah, I just wasn't feeling very well. So I said, let me go to the doctor. Go to the doctor, find that I've got an STD.
Tarifa.
Yeah. I've got an STD. How can I have an STD when I'm only sleeping with one person?
And this is after how long you after giving birth to your child?
This was during the Olympics. So this was 7 months. This was during the 2012 Olympics.
So this is 7 months after.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And I remember the Olympics was because I found out and I came home to confront him. And I remember sitting there just feeling very lost. And I remember that's the time when Usain Bolt was running.
Yeah.
And is it Usain Bolt? Yeah. I'm forgetting his name now.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the fastest guy that I know.
Yeah. So there was a lot of chat going on TV, and this is what was happening. And I was sitting there just watching this, and he kind of walked in, his usual. Hyde walks in, hi, goes to the bedroom. So I follow him. And I go and confront him. And I said, I went to the doctor and they said, I've got an STD. And he kind of looks at me like, how did you get that? And I'm like, what do you mean? How did I get that? Like, I have an STD. Like, you've given me an STD. Now, when we were having this argument, I didn't realize that the baby monitor was on. So
the mom is hearing.
The mom and the brother could hear us chatting in the living room.
Yeah.
So we're going back and forth about this. I'm doing my usual. How can you do this? How can you do that? He finally confesses to me and says, yeah, he was sleeping with somebody after work or something like that. That's why he's coming home late. Yeah.
That's because man's busy walking the streets. He's talking about walking home. Yeah, he's literally walking the streets.
So he's sorry and all this stuff. So when I go out to the living room, his mom just looks at me and she goes, well, that's what men do. This is normal behavior. Like, you just need to learn to forgive him. And I'm just like, I just don't want to talk about that right now. And then she's like, well, I hope you're still going to serve him his food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, as a woman, when your husband does something to you, even if you're upset, you need to make sure you still feed him, give him his dinner when he comes home from work, and just still be his wife, basically. So I'm just like, I'm trying to process what's happening. And this woman is telling me, you need to make sure you're cooking for him, okay? Make sure you're feeding him. And I'm just like, okay. And at this point, I'm not telling anybody this is happening, right? My family don't know this is what's happening. I'm not telling my mom. So this is just happening in this house, and it's just me and what's happening to myself. So I get the treatment for the STD. I'm still in the relationship. And then I notice that Hyde doesn't want us to be intimate anymore. So he's like, he didn't say the words, but he just wasn't initiating sex anymore.
Yeah.
And I was just a bit lost as to, okay, is this because of what's happened? Like, what's happening, So my baby's getting ready to turn 1. Me and Hyde haven't been intimate since I found out about the STD. So I'm asking him, like, what he would do is, like, I would send him text messages like, hey, tonight, and then I'd go buy lingerie and stuff. And then what he would do is he would sit in the living room, and then he would stand up and go to sleep. So we'll be sitting in the living room with his mother on the chair. Then before his mother goes upstairs to go to her husband's, flat, he would get up and go to the bedroom and go to sleep. By the time his mom is gone and I'm now following him to be like, hey,
he's knocked out.
He's knocked out. And then this became a habit of his.
Interestingly,
so I was just like...
Interestingly, if I found out that my person gave me an STI, I'd be hesitant to have sex with them. Did you ever have any hesitation post-treatment to have sex with him?
No, I think my mindset was, he slept with somebody else, and I don't want him to sleep with somebody else, so I gotta give it to him
So that he doesn't go looking for it elsewhere.
so he doesn't go looking elsewhere. That's what I was thinking.
What was his reason for going elsewhere in the first place?
He
What-
said he was stressed out with the situation at home between me and his mother and the baby. He just didn't want to come home to that toxic environment. So he started like hanging out with somebody else and then ended up sleeping. Never knew who this person was. Ended up sleeping with this person.
Wow.
That was his excuse, basically. So once again, it's my fault. It's like because we're toxic at home, because what's happening at home with us, that's why he's doing what he's doing. No accountability whatsoever. So yeah, so I said, okay, that's the reason. My baby turns 1 and we introduce a new character here. His brother has an arranged relationship from his home, back home from where they're from.
Yeah.
They arrange a woman to come from back home to get with the brother, to marry the brother, basically. So she comes from back home. We'll call her Maria. Maria comes from where they're from to be with the brother. And before they get married, she says, well, she wants to get to know him while she's here for the meantime, before they get married and stuff. And me and her become very close. So Maria starts to tell me things like, my relationship with, the brother is very strange because he calls his mom every day. And it just feels like he tells his mom everything. And are you experiencing that? So I'm just like, oh, yeah, I have noticed that he does call his mother every day. Your husband calls his mom every day. It can be a bit strange. So she was venting to me, basically, about the situation.
Yeah.
And I was venting to her about my situation. And then it got to a point where she was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this with the brother. So I think I'm going to leave. So, cool. If you want to leave him, that's your business. But then Hyde's mother, when she found out this girl was leaving, she then blamed me and said the reason why this girl is leaving is because I have been influencing her and telling her stuff about the family and all this kind of stuff. That's why she's leaving. That's why Maria is leaving. So she decides she wants to call a family meeting and confront me. So she calls Maria. She calls the brother, Hyde's brother. Hyde comes to this meeting. I'm there. And then she basically says that, first of all, she wants to get it off her chest that she had a dream. And in the dream, God told her that I got pregnant to trap her son.
Yeah.
So I planned. That's like the first thing she's telling me in this meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no, I didn't. That's not what happened. And then Hyde is like, that's true, actually. I can believe it. I can believe that. And then I'm just like, why would I get pregnant? What do you have that I would want to trap you for?
Yep.
Like, what do you have? And the mom is like, no, my dreams never lie. And that is what God has shown me. God has also shown me that you are manipulating. You're trying to separate this family. You've been telling Maria things. Maria was there. Maria said, that's not true. But she was like, no, God has shown me this is what's happening. And then the mother proceeds to say, I'm going to get a bowl of water. I'm going to pray over this water. And if you're telling the truth, Darifa, you're going to drink this water. And if nothing happens to you, it means you're telling the truth.
Hey! What? What? And what? I'm speechless.
So Hyde is egging her on. And he's like, I'll go get the bowl of water. and I'm sitting there like,
and what was supposedly meant to be in this water, you obviously don't know.
It was supposed to be water that she prays over, and I guess God would curse me if I'm lying, maybe? Don't know.
And
she just said, get a bowl of water. She's going to pray on this water, and then I have to drink the water. And if I'm lying, then I would suffer the consequences.
So the water was meant to be extracted from the source by you? So you are going to go fetch this water and
Yeah.
bring it, or someone else was fetching it and
No,
bringing it?
no. Hyde was fetching the water.
Nah. God
He
forbid.
volunteered himself, by the way. She didn't ask him to do it. He volunteered himself. It's like he was excited to see me in this situation.
Damn.
He volunteered himself that he would go and get this water. The mom will pray over this water. I would drink this water. And yeah, I said, no, I'm not doing that. Then they said, you see, he's a liar.
Wow.
He's lying. Yeah. And then I said, I just, I had seen a lot of Nollywood films and I just said no.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I just feel like I can't do it. I just can't do it. So then from that point, they were convinced I was a liar. So it's like, she's a liar at this point. So at this point, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I'm in a relationship with a guy him and his mom don't trust me. I haven't told my family what's happening. My mother is back home at this point. When I look back now, I tell people the story, my friends now, they're like, oh, but why didn't you just leave? But it was like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't work. I wasn't working. I just graduated from uni. I just finished uni, sorry. I wasn't working. I'd left everything behind in the other town where I'd moved to now come and stay with him. So I've got no job. I've got a 1-year-old baby. Where am I going to go?
Bruh.
Okay. My mom is not here. My father is not alive. I've got aunts and uncles. Yeah, but I can't just turn up to their house with a baby and say, I'm not staying here with you guys.
Bruh.
So I was stuck. I felt stuck. So I just thought, I'm going to have to put up with the situation. So I started visiting one of my aunties, my dad's older sister, and I would tell her the situation. So I started venting. This is what's happening. In my mind, I was hoping, because Hyde didn't have any friends that he'd introduce me to, I knew no one. So there was no friend that I could go to say, okay, can you speak to your friend, please? Sometimes you say, well, if I speak to the friend will call out their friend to be your behavior, your family's behavior. There was nothing like that. So I thought, okay, maybe if I speak to my auntie will, in hope, phone Hyde or phone his mom and and try and get involved. When I say speak to, I mean, I wasn't going to tell them about the physical arguments and stuff like that. But in terms of us living there with the mother, maybe they would say, let them go off and get a place of their own. Because in my mind, that was the solution.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was, if we leave here, Hyde and I will be fine. Right? He's just being influenced by the toxic behavior of his mother. So my auntie didn't say much. She just kind of said, well, he's a problem, I guess. Everybody has their person. You know your person and you know their behavior.
She wasn't trying to help you out, was she?
She wasn't trying to help me. Then I thought, okay, I'll tell so we used to go to church as a family church and an African church on Sundays. Maybe I'll tell the pastor's wife, and the pastor's wife who come to my defense told the pastor's wife. The pastor's wife told me, you need to go down and kneel in front of your mother-in-law and beg her for forgiveness.
Hey, bye.
And yeah. And if you do that, you'll be in good books with her, basically. Because if you beg her for forgiveness for any wrong that you've done to her, she'll see that, you've got a humble spirit and she'll forgive you. And her heart will open up more, and maybe she will say, okay, fine, you guys can move out and whatever. That's a good idea or whatever. So I went and I did it. I didn't kneel down though. I went, my pride was too strong for the kneeling. So I went there and I said to my mother-in-law, if I've wronged you in any way, I'm sorry. I just want us to all get along. I'm not trying to separate the families and anything like that, but I just want me and Hyde to have a place of our own, And then the mother didn't take her. She grabbed her breast and she said to me, you see this boob right here? My son, Hyde, drank from this breast, okay? He is my son. I took care of him. He's not just going to leave me for you.
Right.
He won't even marry you legally unless I tell him to.
What?
So I want you to know that unless I tell him to, he's not going to do it. He's my son. And then, I mean, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I'm speechless myself.
So then she goes, you see, you Zimbabweans, you've got no culture. You're like white people, cultureless. You've got no culture. That's why you behave the way you behave. Us West Africans, we have culture. That's why we are acting this way, because of culture. So I was like, first of all, I have culture, right? It's not about where I'm from. Me wanting to leave here has nothing to do with the cultural differences. It's because I want us to have a place of our own. I want us to build. But it felt like she was fighting me with this situation. She just didn't want. And she was like, it's not going to happen unless I tell him it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you're going to just have to deal. You're going to have to deal with it. And even if you leave, you're not taking the baby. That's what she said to me. You're not taking the baby with you. So you're going to have to think about your decisions very carefully of what you want to do here.
Talk about emotional blackmail on the highest level.
So I sunk into a depression. I sunk into a deep depression. Hyde wasn't intimate with me anymore. So we're not having sex at this point. I've lost weight. I had lost so much weight. If I stood for a long time, my knees would hurt. So I went to the GP to say, I'm having knee pain. And then he said, you're actually really underweight. Are you eating? What's going on? I'm eating, but I'm depressed. So I'm losing weight. So I'd sunk into a depression. I didn't realize I was depressed. I was just sort of getting on with the situation. This is the situation. Do you know what I mean? There's no way out here. So I kind of have to make it work. So I'm thinking of ways to be a better wife. I'm talking to Hyde. What do you want me to do to make this relationship work? He's telling me you need to be a good wife. You need to be a clean wife. You need to make sure you're not cleaning the house properly. You need to make sure that when I come home, the house is spotless. Like the royal family is going to turn up here and visit. That's how clean I want this house to be. Right. So he's giving me all these things that I should do to make the relationship work, but I'm falling short. Like I'm struggling here. I'm just never good enough at this point. So I've gone to the pastor's wife. I've gone to my auntie. No one is helping. I finally tell my mom, listen, this is a situation. He doesn't want to leave. My mom decides to tell her sister, who was over here, to say, maybe if you go there and speak to the mother on my behalf, maybe something can be sorted here. So my auntie on my mother's side comes to the house to speak to the mother.
Same.
The mother's just like, same. She wasn't even rude to my auntie. She just like, well, this is a situation. We just want our families to be together. She kind of painted it as if I'm the problem and she just wants to help us and wants to keep us united in that sense. My auntie didn't fight her or question her further. So it was left as that. So I'm stuck once again. So I've gone to this person, that person, no one's helping. So I had joined a baby group, where you take your kid to go play during the day with other kids. And I met this other woman that was there, and she was involved with the council services. I'm kind of venting to her about my situation. And she says, you know what, you can just leave him and apply for homelessness, basically. So you're homeless and the council can get involved and they can help you. So I'm like, ooh, okay. What do I need to do that? She's like, well, you need his mother to write a letter to say she's kicked you out the house. And I'm like, she's never going to do that.
No, she won't.
She's never going to do that. And she's like, well, so they can prove that you're homeless. And I'm just like, trust me, she's not going to do that. So she's like, well, or you can just, I guess, leave, turn up to the council with your bags and just say, this is a situation. So I'm just like in two minds, like, I don't know if I can do that. That's like deep. Like, that's like the final nail in the coffin to me, because I don't want to leave Hyde. In my mind, I don't want to leave Hyde. So in my mind, I'm like, if I go to the council and do this, is Hyde going to follow me? All I'm thinking is Hyde, I want him to come. So I don't want to do this. And then he gets mad and says, well, we're through. So I sit on that suggestion and like, okay, I'm going to think about this. So now my daughter is 18 months at this point. I'm still there. Hyde comes home one evening he was upset about something. He's always upset. So at this point, I can't even tell you what he was upset about.
Because he's always switching, yeah.
He's always switching. So at this point, I just knew we were having an argument about something. And I was in the kitchen. My baby was in the living room with my mother-in-law. So I come in the kitchen and he kind of comes in after me. And he sort of blocks my exit. Standing there, I'm asking him to move. And he's like, no. So I turn to the side, like to move on the other side. He steps on the side I'm stepping in, blocks me. Okay. At this point, my heart is racing a bit like, okay, what's going on here? Like, step to the other side. He's blocking me. And then I say, okay, can you move? So then I nudge him, I push him on his chest, just gently. Can you move? He hits me hard on my chest. No. So I fall back. And then he's like, so then I get up, stand up again, and I move and say, can you move? Pushing him, pushes me again. This time he pushes me very hard. There was a deep freezer behind us. So I hit my back against this deep freezer. He comes after me. He grabs my throat, right? And he's like choking me. So my screaming must have caused, like, my mother-in-law is in the living room at this point. So she is screaming. So she reacts and comes to open the kitchen door to see what's happening. When she opens the door, he sort of throws me, and then I hit the kitchen cabinet and fall down against there. My baby comes in screaming because obviously there's a lot of commotion going on. She doesn't understand what's happening, so she's crying. My mother-in-law's going, what's going on? What's going on? Like, leave her. So he says something, mutters something, and walks off. And I'm in shock at this point, like, what's just happened? I don't know. At this point, I'd never sat down and thought, I'm being abused here. Like, I'm being physically, emotionally, verbally abused by this man. I just never I wasn't that person. I didn't want to be that person. So when this happened, I was like, he's tried to choke me, he's tried to strangle me. So I got up, I told his mom, I'm just trying to explain what's happening. Like, he just hit me from nowhere. His mom is just like, oh, maybe you said something to upset him. And I'm like grabbing my baby, like, no, I said nothing to him. So he goes into the bedroom. He locks the door in the bedroom. The mother packs her stuff and then she goes upstairs. She leaves me with him.
Wow.
In the house, in the flat.
Yeah.
The two of us. After this altercation. Doesn't even call him back to try and speak to him to say, what happened? Nothing. She's got no understanding of the situation. She just left us. So at this point, I'm like, I got this. No, this is too much. So I phone the stepfather. The stepfather was never really around in this story because he doesn't say much. He's kind of in and out, but he's never really there, if that makes sense. So this time I phone the stepfather. I phone him and I tell him what's happened. He's upstairs. So the stepfather says, come upstairs, all of you. We go upstairs. He sits us down. He asks me with the mother, what happened? I tell him what happened. And then I say to him, my father never hit my mother. I've never seen my uncle hit my auntie. I don't come from a family where this is normal. This is normal to me. So this is not okay for me. His mother says, this is how West African men are, okay? Even me, when I'm arguing with the dad here, he grabs my top, and one time he tore my top because we were arguing. Like, this is normal behavior. So I'm just like, okay, well, that's normal behavior for you, but it's not for me. And then she's like, well, the worst thing you can do is call the police, because if you call the police on your partner, you forever live to regret it.
So now she's planted the seed.
Yeah, you'd never call the police. And you don't tell your family, because if you tell your family, your mom or anything, they're going to resent your husband. So you say nothing. So what do I do? So the mother, the dad, the stepdad is like, well, you guys need to learn to get along, stop fighting. That's the kind of like the thing he's telling us. Hyde is there saying, let her tell her family. I don't care. I don't care what they think about me. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. And the stepdad is like, yeah, you've got a child together. You guys need to learn to get along. I don't want to hear about this stuff happening again. That wasn't good enough for me. Yeah. That wasn't good enough for me. So the next day, phoned my mother told her everything.
Mm.
My mother, like, was fuming. She got some money together. She phoned Hyde's mother, and she said, if your son lays a finger on my child again, I myself will call the police from here.
Mm.
Like, your child cannot touch, he should not be touching my child.
Mm.
Can't do that. We don't have that here. It's not normal behavior. The mother is apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry. They just had a misunderstanding. Don't worry, I'm here. I'm taking care of them. She's trying to reassure my mother. My mom's like, no, like that can't happen. It's not normal.
Mm.
So then my mother phones me out. My mom is like, you need to get out. Like, normally I haven't tried to push you to leave this man because I want you to make your own decisions.
Yeah.
Like, I can advise you,
Mm.
but it's your choice, it's your life. But I think you need to get out
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what the next thing he's going to do to you is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like thinking like, okay. And I remember I went into the bathroom that afternoon and I took a look at my neck and I could see the bruises
Mm.
from where he grabbed me. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that was me because I'd seen programs on TV of people who get abused and all this kind of stuff. And I just didn't believe that was who I was.
Mm.
This is what I've become, you know. Like, our relationship has got this bad where this guy is now can choke me and strangle me and not care. Because it was the not caring as well after that also got to me.
Yeah.
He just started ignoring me, acting like I wasn't around. Everybody's ignoring me after the incident. Now his mother's mad at me because I've called my mother and told my mother everything. So now it's back to ignoring me again. So back to feeling isolated again. No solution here. So then I said, you know what, I can't deal with this. So I started looking at my daughter and I thought, I can't have my child growing up in this sort of toxic environment.
Yeah. Mm.
So I decided I'm going to go to the council. Right? One day I just packed my bag, the little bag I had, put my baby in the buggy, went to the council office, sat outside all day, told them I was homeless. Okay, they put me in like a shared house. So I'm in this shared house. But because, I mean, I would love to say to you, this then made me say, oh, I'm done with Hyde. No. So I would be in the shared house Monday to Friday. Then on the weekends, I would go back with my baby to stay with Hyde, with his mom's house,
Jeez.
hoping that Hyde would be like, okay, I'll follow you.
Yeah.
Nothing. Right? So we get to now 2013, May. So I've gone to the council. This is now January 2013.
So this is 5 years on. Your relationship
5 years on.
Jeez.
I'm now at the council. 5 months, I'm still in this one room. You know, if you know the process, it takes a while for them to even find you accommodation, like a proper house or whatever. So I'm staying in this shared house Monday to Friday. Then on weekends, I'm coming home to Hyde and his family. His mom isn't really saying much about the situation, I guess, because I'm coming back every weekend. So in her mind, she's just like, well, you're going to come back anyway. But she's making little comments like, they're not going to give you anything because there's no houses anyway. The council is overwhelmed. They've got too many people. So they're never going to give you anything anyway. So you're kind of wasting your time with what you're doing. And I'm just like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm in the system now. I might as well just stay in the system.
Mm-hmm.
But I still will come back to Hyde hoping that he's going to follow.
Yeah.
So in May of 2013, Hyde's father passes away back home. So I come to the house on the weekend and, you know, there's different family members that are there. They've come to pay their respects to him about his father back home. So while I'm there, I'm on his laptop and he's gone to bed. And I don't know what prompted me to do this, but I decided to go into his browser history. And then on his browser history, I noticed that there was a lot of pornographic sites and a lot of, and there was a website and it looked like an adult escorting website.
Yeah.
So I see the title, I click on it, and then it opens up to this escort website. Okay. I don't know anything about this. So then I think, okay, how do I log into his account? Because he wasn't logged in. So what I do is I go on like forgot password. I put in his email address to say forgot password. And then it says, okay, we've sent you your password.
And because you're in the email now.
And because I'm on his laptop, his email automatically is open. So I get the password, reset the password to my own password, log into the account. And boy, oh boy, did I see things there. So this escorting website was like, it was set up almost like how Facebook is set up, where you've got messages, right? So you've got people's profiles and then you've got messages. And then in the messages, you can see the different chats somebody's had with this person. There was six or seven different women that he had spoken to. And he would say to these women, call me after 5, only call me between 7 and 8 a.m. or 5 and 8 p.m. This is my number. It was a different number to the number that I had.
Yeah.
This is my number. And then he would say, okay, do you do how much for, a blowjob, for example? How much for oral sex? How much for sex with no condom? How much was, all this stuff? They give him, they give him a price. Okay. Then they say, arrive at this time. So I can see like he's booked this person, and then I can see he's gone to see this person. And one of the dates that he actually went to see this person was around the time where it was my birthday and my daughter's birthday, because our birthdays are close together.
Yeah.
So he actually hadn't spent our birthdays with us. He said he was working. And then I've come to find this is what he was doing. And then I looked through the website. He has slept easily with 6-7 people. Easily.
Jeez.
Okay.
Minimum.
That I know of, that I can see on this website. Right? So I was in shock at this point. I was a bit like, okay, at least we're not sleeping together. So I know I haven't got anything. But wow, like an escorting, like you're sleeping with escorts, like this a bit, So I confronted him about it. I mean, I had no energy left in the tank at this moment, but I confronted him about it. He didn't react. He didn't care. He didn't care. So I got no reaction from him.
Yeah.
And then I decided that maybe I want to embarrass him. So I tell his mother, tell his brother to say, and then his mother goes, well, when his father was alive back home, his father had many wives. So I think they've got a spirit of being a womanizer. What we need to do is we need to pray against that spirit to leave him. And, that's what's going to help him. And then Hyde is there agreeing like, yes.
Yeah.
We need to pray against this spirit. And I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do it. I can't be with somebody like this. Like, you know what I mean? I can't. So now, like, you're sleeping with escorts. You're physically abusive. What next?
You're
I don't
verbally
know.
abusive,
Like, what next? What more can you do at this point? So I just said to him, I'm done. Like I said, I'm done. I don't think I can stay after this. I don't think he thought I was done because I hadn't been done before. I'd still been there, but I was done. So I said to him, I'm not coming back on the weekends. I stopped going on the weekends. And then eventually...
So where would you spend your weekends? At the place that you're given?
At the temporary place, yeah. I was just at a temporary place. I said, if you want to see your child, you come up there and see her. But I'm not bringing her to you. We're done. And
what were you doing for money? Because remember you said that you weren't working.
I was on benefits.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to sign up for benefits at this point. So I signed up for the benefit system. And that's not much. So I'm on that small minimum amount of money. Yeah, and then I left. And then eventually, September, after this happened in May, September, we were offered a permanent place. So moved to our permanent place. And then I just told him, we found our permanent place. That's it. We need to make arrangements for, like, when are you going to see your child? Are you going to take her on some weekends, have her on some weekends? Like, we need to make the arrangement now because me and you are done. And he was just like, okay, fine. But he refused to pay maintenance. He said, I'm not paying any child maintenance. So then I went to the, which is child support, in other words. So I went to the child maintenance people. They said, they phoned him and said, we will take money from your salary if you refuse to pay. So that showed him that I'm serious here. His mother called me, was insulting me to say, how dare I do that, take a child to child maintenance. He's the father. He's got to pay. He's got to help me. So then I said to him, you have to pay. I'm going to get a job on the weekends. I'll drop her off with you on the weekends so I can work and you also contribute. And that's pretty much from that point how it started. And we just never, and it's weird to say, but we never came back from that. It just stayed like that. And that was the end of the relationship. And we were done.
And this is 2013?
2013.
The toxicity of that environment is shocking on so many levels.
Yeah.
On so many levels, right? If you're a mom and you're seeing what it's like to have a child that is very close to you, well, which is Hyde and whatever that weird brother is like with his... Why was he like that with his mom, though, the other guy?
I don't know. It was very strange behavior. Like he was always with his mother. They would go shopping together. She would buy his boxes for him.
Bruh.
Like to that level of like closeness. It was weird. It was very strange.
Yeah, that is very concerning. So anyway, there's that. So for a mom, for you to be that close to your own children, how then is it difficult for you to understand that you, Darifa, wanted to be in the same position with your child and have it in a safe environment? You know, if anything, she should have been able to encourage that. At least just the closeness. The whole behavior of getting beaten up and getting cheated on and being pushed and shoved and what? Hey, listen, if that happens in your guy's home, keep it there. And then for you to fail to see that this is what is happening to somebody else's child and not try and defend that it's all been a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And did he get to find out where you guys stayed when you moved?
Yeah, he knew.
He knew?
We didn't move far from where he was. We actually moved probably about 15, 20 minutes away from his house where he stayed with his mom. So, I mean, maybe people would say this wasn't the best decision, but for me, I thought it was the right decision to involve him in his child's life because I wasn't there to separate him as a father from my daughter.
Yeah.
You know? So I just said to him, you have to be an active father. That's your choice. So you take her on the weekends because that would allow me to work. So I said, you take her on the weekends. I work on the weekend. You spend that time with her, you know, Friday to Sunday, bring her back on Sunday. Yeah. And then that just became the routine. And until now, that is the routine.
And this is 11 years down the road.
11 years down the road. Till now, she goes on a Friday, she comes back on a Sunday.
What's their relationship like? Father and daughter?
They have a great relationship. They have a very good relationship. She definitely looks up to her dad. She obviously doesn't know what our relationship... She doesn't remember us together. You know, she can't even remember us together. But yeah, she's got a great love and respect for her dad. And I've never said anything negative to her about her father. From what I gauge, she's never come and said that he said anything negative about me to her. So we have managed to co-parent quite well, surprisingly, when you look at how our relationship was not... there was no... We just couldn't work in our relationship, but we work as co-parents. You know, we're able to do things together in terms of if there's a birthday party, believe it or not, we are in the same room together. If there's sports day, he turns up. I'm there. My now husband is there. Graduation, when she graduated for primary school, we were all there. When my daughter had her 10th birthday in his house, in his flat, my husband and I went there with his mother there, his family there. Yay! People found it quite strange to see me there with my husband and him speaking to my husband, but we do it. That's
a huge sign of maturity, you know. You know, on your part is incredible maturity, and that of your husband too. Because you know, all that says it just bears testimony to people who are looking at the bigger picture and people who understand the importance of that presence and getting involved in supporting, you know, where you best can. It has how difficult has that transition been for your husband?
My husband has been brilliant. I cannot lie to you. He's been brilliant. From the moment I met him, he knew the situation. I explained everything. And he'd never been in that kind of dynamic before. But, even before he proposed to me, he texts he texts Hyde and told him, I'm planning on proposing to Darifa. I would like, your daughter, the child, my child, to be part of the proposal. And I wanted to let you know this was happening, And he said, great, all love and support to you guys.
Wow.
For it. Yeah.
In a funny way, that's a nice ending to this whole story.
Yeah.
In that, I'm grateful that he didn't try and make a comeback, because most men, when they finally clock, especially if they're abusive in the way that he was, they see it as a loss of control. And some men in that space will do anything to try and reclaim that control. I'm almost grateful that if he tried, he didn't try as hard as he potentially could have to try and maintain that control, because God knows what that would have translated and what that could have looked like for you. So allowing that distance to come between the two of you, and then allowing that relationship to become the norm, which is the back and forth on a weekend, and you have them over the week, works in the favor of your child in that she remains in touch with both sides of a family, and then also has a supportive father now too. So so she's got the best of both worlds in that space. And look, you got a happy husband too. And you're happy within yourself.
I'm happy within myself. Like, this has been 11 years at this point. I have moved on way, long time ago. I've been married for 3 years now. I have another child as well. So I have definitely matured and grown. I'm not the person I was,
no,
23, 24. That person's gone. That Darifa is no longer around anymore. I look back to the experience and sometimes I'm ashamed of myself for staying in that sort of environment and allowing somebody to abuse me and bring me down to that level. But it made me a stronger person. I will not take that kind of shit anymore from anybody.
Yeah.
And I was quite clear with my husband now when I met him that that's not the kind of, that's not going to happen. Even with his family, when I met his family, I was very careful with the family. Because I was not about to let myself enter that sort of toxic
and get
space
exposed.
again.
Yeah.
And get exposed, and then lose who I am as a person, because I didn't know who I was in that relationship. I had to discover myself again. So I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud that I've got 2 daughters now, and I would never let. Well, kids make their own decisions when they grow up, but I would hope to be an example to not let them fall in that sort of situation when they get older. And to be a good example, to see that their mom is in a loving marriage and they too can aspire to be in a marriage that is positive and healthy, because that can happen. It's possible.
Oh, yeah. I am very, very happy for you, Darifa.
Thank you.
I really am. And what you're also doing there is sharing that, because I know a lot of people beat themselves up for the situations that they found themselves in, and they say, I should have known, I should have done better. But we all use things that we have in our arsenal to our defense. So if you've ever gone to war and all you had were your hands, and you thought everybody was going to come to a fair fight with their hands, and you discover, ooh, this is not a fair fight. Next time you come around, you're going to come with something that either matches what they have or is even more powerful. So what I'm saying is the way that you tackled your situation at that time is as you saw and knew it. Because you said you grew up in an environment where physical abuse was not a thing, nor verbal abuse was a thing. So it was a shock to your system. And you didn't know how to tackle it because you never had to deal with it. And now that you've dealt with it, it became the grounds and the foundation for where you are now to say, hey, listen, I don't tolerate this. Because it's unhealthy for me. I've experienced it. It wasn't good for my child. It wasn't good for me. I want none of it.
Yeah.
So what you've just done with your episode now is definitely equipped. And I'm confident that there's somebody listening right now who's dealing with either something similar or even worse. And what you're basically saying to them, and I'll close this out by reading your lessons, is number 1, don't be a clown for love. You know, I know it's for you to say don't be a clown. I'm not even confident you were a clown. You just didn't know. You were none the wiser. Remember, you met this guy when you were 21, and it was your first serious relationship, and then it ended up being the person who's giving you your first child. You couldn't have known better. But that's a very valuable lesson still. Don't be a clown for love. Number 2, when somebody shows you who they are for the first time, believe them. And this guy, I think, with his snappy approach to the relationship from the onset, was kind of giving you signs that I'm verbally abusive. Except that you couldn't tell. Number 3, you can be in a relationship and still feel alone. I totally get it. I can't imagine being in a relationship with someone and I'm not touching them up or they're not touching me up. You know, it's easy to feel alone because it extends to more than just the people you are intimate with. It's his mom, his brother, and the dad. You were really alone in many ways, and you were detached from your own family world because you had to try and preserve nyayas and stories and wahala because of the way that you left in the first place. And then number 4, know not to look for fulfillment from someone else, but better look for it from yourself. That is such an important thing. People talk to you about self-love, but self-love is difficult to come by unless you've been through shit, I think.
Yeah.
It helps you get grounded. And then last but not least, families can influence a relationship, so be careful what family you are marrying into. Ziva naiwe matongo is what they say in Shona. That shit is real on so many levels. Know what that background is like, because what you could be dealing with is somebody who's molded against what they grew up with. You know, this guy's grown up in an environment where you drink water or drink whatever and they check whether you react or you don't. What the hell is that? And then these guys go to a church where the pastor's wife tells you to go and kneel down in front of someone and ask for forgiveness. What about turning or encouraging somebody to turn to God for forgiveness and support? You know, this is not just nuclear family, it's even extended family like a church family. Because that definitely influenced how you approach that relationship.
That's so true.
So, hey, Tarifa, thanks a million for sharing your story. Yeah, it's been a lot. And you guys have been listening to another episode of The Phoenix Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I will catch you in next week's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Santi's on Daru Raini and Chake Zaini.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Santi's on Daru Raini and Chake Zaini.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziru amai.
Kujidziru amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru noto kujidziru amai.